So we have several wonderful panelists to help us with our interior design discussion on the theme of earth, air, fire and water and their integration into interior design, both literally, so how do we get earth, air, fire and water into our designs, and symbolically as well. Our first panelist, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. Sombat, who's co-founder and CXO of Paperspace Asia. Sombat, please come to the stage. I'll just tell you a little bit about Sombat. He leads a collective network of design thinkers across multidisciplinary practices, delivering great projects for clients with a technology toolkit. He won't mind me saying that he has over 25 years of experience in corporate and commercial interior design, has worked with multinational corporate clients throughout Asia, such as Google, Facebook, Airbnb, and Walt Disney, creating innovative and impactful spaces that enhance their brand identity and user experience. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sombat. Next, we have Mr. Alan Fong, the founder of Millimetre Design. Alan, come to the stage. Thank you. Having trained in an architectural firm, focusing on, sit wherever you like, it's entirely up to you, focusing on commercial projects of up to 100,000 square feet, looking after some of the biggest companies, Alan co-founded Playform Design in 2009, pursuing a career focused on interior turnkey projects. With a 360-degree approach to exploring creativity and design flexibility, he delved deeper into the root of design and site execution that covers a full spectrum of management and construction. And 14 years ago, Alan founded Millimetre Design alongside Vienna Chu, where the duo conquered the commercial development industry from office experience centers right up to public spaces and retail outlets. So the whole lot of them. Alan, you're very welcome. Next, please welcome Mr. Palach Painupong, founder That Is If Interior. Palach? Palach is an award-winning designer who's been the driving force behind numerous prestigious projects across Asia. After 12 years of intensive experience in Bangkok and Hong Kong in hospitality, residential, retail, and corporate designs, with several international design awards and recognitions, he has formed That Is If Interior, a hip, you don't mind me saying it's hip, do you? It is hip. A hip design team pursuing his distinctive passion and expanding his innovations to all aspects of interior design. Palach, you're very welcome. Next, please welcome Mr. Kris Lin, founder and design director of Kris Lin International Design. Kris, please come to the stage. Kris graduated from Feng Chia University in Taiwan with a degree in architecture, obtained a master's degree in architectural management from CNAM in France. In 2001, he founded Kris Lin International Design in Shanghai, dedicating himself to the field of architectural and interior space design. A highly respected and accomplished author with 24 years of experience in design, he's committed to continuous research and innovation in architectural design, interior design, and landscape design. So again, a very great wealth of experience. Please welcome Mr. Cipta Wijaya, Managing Partner at CNS Design Works. Cipta, please come to the stage. Thank you so much. CNS, thank you. Lovely to see you. CNS is a design firm with a diverse and talented team. Cipta's role balances creative vision with practical management, fostering a collaborative environment and high-quality outcomes. Cipta has a Bachelor of Architecture degree from Petra Christian University, and after 12 years founded CNS Design Works, creating a platform for talented designers to express their creativity. Cipta, you're very welcome. And last but by no means least, please welcome back to the stage Mr. Antoine Besseyre des Horts, leader of LIXIL Global Design in Asia. We've already heard from Antoine, but now I can tell you a little bit more about him. I think you've realized what a wealth of information he is. He's a multi-award-winning leader of LIXIL Global Design Asia, leading an international team, providing creative direction to translate those LIXIL brands that we saw earlier and the strategies into culturally relevant consumer experiences through, as we've seen, product packaging, environment, and communication. Prior to his current role, he worked at Grower, where he led design projects. And also, he probably won't mind me saying that he worked for large organizations previously and prestigious agencies, such as Alstrom Design and Styling, as a transportation designer, so quite different from the bathroom experience. Branding agency Landor as a brand experience, and Electrolux Group as an industrial designer. Please welcome again, Antoine. Wonderful. So let's talk about these 4 elements then and how we incorporate them into interior design. Antoine, I am going to start with you. Let's talk about earth first of all. So we're going to talk about earth first of all, and then we'll move on to the other elements. So Antoine, how do you design with sustainability in mind without losing sight of style and function? I mean, we've seen the result of some of your design work, but tell us a bit about that sustainable thinking process.
Okay, so I think when it comes to sustainability, so I talked about the rise of eco-consciousness, right? When it comes to developing products, and I'm using the term developing, not designing, because you've got to look at it holistically. So it's not just about the way we design, it's also the way we manufacture, the way we ship the products to people. So the way we approach that is it's multidimensional. So that's why, for example, we are having our fitting brands like carbon neutral, because we want to produce the most sustainable way. The way we engineer our products is also, let's say, promoting circularity. So we have within the Grow brand the first cradle-to-cradle collection of faucet. It's also down to the packaging, the way we create the packaging without, plastic. And then eventually when it comes to design, so that's a bit more challenging, because on one hand, we have the means, and I shared some technologies, right? We have the means to definitely, let's say, push water preservation, or change the way people consume water, but at the same time, people are not necessarily yet completely ready. So they want to be more sustainable, but at the same time, they do not want to compromise experience. And this is why, actually, there are ways we can design the products, leveraging some technologies to, for example, make the use of the products much more intuitive. So somehow encouraging sustainable behavior, but without compromising the experience. So that's a challenging part, but by really understanding where we're at when it comes to sustainability, from, again, the stakeholders that are involved in different industry to the users, we are able to then utilize the right, or let's say the most relevant technologies and design it in the most relevant way. So again, we can encourage like sustainable behavior, but without compromising the experience.
Okay, we'll come back to that in just a moment, because I'm going to talk to you about super luxury in a minute, Palach. We'll hold that thought. Let's talk about some specific projects, first of all, if we can. Cipta, tell us about a project where you've used natural elements, for example, stone, wood, or plants as a key feature. You've created a stone experience center, haven't you?
Yes. Thank you for having me. And actually, our last project is Stone Experience Center. And upon that project there is something interesting, very interesting happened. So actually, our client is marble suppliers in Indonesia, and apparently, we know that nowadays natural stone market is a little bit tough, because people start to compare natural stones with the synthetic one. So I try to negotiate with my client, like, okay, if you do something ordinary, people will start to complain whenever you offer them a marble. Like, it's high maintenance, it's very hard to clean, many problems about it. So what I try to say to my client is, let's do something different. So may I know what you can do with marbles? So they told me, like, okay, I can bend marble. Huh? What? You can bend marble? Yeah, I can bend marble. So how you do that? So we slice that marble into a very thin slice, 2 millimeters, and they put backings on it and they bend it. So okay, that's quite challenging. So if I ask you, you can make details by that technology, right? Yeah. Yes, we can. So I create a details when people always ask me, like, you carve a block of marble. No, we slice and we bend. And okay, the next step, the small part already done. So could you create a centerpiece with this technology? Yes. How long do you want to make it? As long as you can. So we put hanging banded marble, like a scarf, up into the ceiling. And it works. It works. And the experience is there. And apparently, after the showroom runs for 6 months, they are very happy about it because their clients stop compare the price with the competitor, and they said like, "Oh, okay, I can feel why I have to use this material." So yeah, apparently, for me, it's also helped people to reduce the usage of natural stones because you only use 10% of the material. Rather than using 2 centimeter thickness slab, you only use 2 millimeter and put backings on.
And as you've said, you're showing the clients what their clients what the stone is capable of as well. Yeah, very innovative. Thank you for that. Kris, Lin, can you share a project, please, where natural elements were a key design highlight, and why is this important to you?
Yeah. So the bring nature element into our project, our design has always we pay attention to. So and I always like to try find a different way to combine the nature with the space. Just like one of our project located in the Nanjing city, the site is very good. It's unique because the site is surrounded by 5 mountains. So this is the great advantage. In this job, I design architecture, landscape, and the interior in the same time. So I think, how can we use the surrounding mountain into the project? So I use the landscape architecture, and I use the mountain as the concept. So in the first, I design the building as a curve, and shape the building looks like a part of the mountain, and the building goes up from the ground. So it both architecture and the landscape in the same time. So finally, it looks like the architecture has disappeared because it goes well with the landscape. And when the people walk inside, it feels like people walking through the mountains. So the idea of the architecture as the nature as the space, that's what we want to convey to the people.
Fantastic. All right,
Yeah,
thank you so
thank you.
much. Okay, let's use one more specific example. Sombat, then. You design office spaces. So tell us about how you've incorporated these natural elements into a workplace, into somebody's office.
Sure. So the workplace, it seems to be a very boring project. We can't do much, right? But we try.
Say that.
We try to do we try to tell the story in a more compelling way. So we have this specific client called Chemi Man. So they do limestone manufacturing. So during the discovery call, right, we went to site, which is in Saraburi, 2-hour drive from Bangkok. We go up all the way to the mountain to see the mine. And we realized that actually the stone itself has a really deep story. So instead of using stones just for decoration, we brought the actual stone from the mine, the actual site, and then we brought it and integrated into the reception area as part of the core, not just decoration. And it turned out to be when the clients bring visitor to the space, they just use that stone to tell everything about the product, the business, instead of just using PowerPoint. The space itself is just deep meaning of the brand. So that is kind of not aesthetic, but it's core of that space.
Okay, I'm sure you'll agree. 3 really inspirational projects where we've made a mountain, we've cut the stone, we've moved the rocks. Let's talk, Alan, about in general terms then. Let's talk about how important these sustainable aspects are to clients. So in your experience, we talk about sustainability and being eco-friendly, as Antoine mentioned. So how important is this to your clients and your projects?
Okay, basically, I think most of our clients, they tend to use or they tend to pick up a lot of materials when it comes to greenery alternatives, I would say, you see. But, from our side, we as a designer as well, you see, we usually actually be in place, to actually guide them through, in order for us to actually put most of our project, into the the sustainability result, But it's not just to put them into the sustainability result, But it's more like to reconnect them, to the land itself, and of course the landscape surrounding itself. You see, so usually we will actually pick up a lot of materials, that is actually being certified. We will actually do a lot of things to actually source products, which is actually locally, so that we can actually reduce a carbon footprint. And if we could actually do a little bit more research, about our project, if we can actually reduce the energy usage, So those are the main things that we always actually being at the first place to actually approach our client.
And I know that you created a sales experience center, didn't you? Where you had was it a forest?
Yes.
Inside?
Okay. That is actually a experiential gallery. You see, it's actually one of the projects that we're really proud of. It's actually a Asia Pacific Property Awards as well. Back in 2021. And this project itself, you see, we are actually connecting. It's not just about what were you saying, about how we actually connect into the landscape, but it's more like there's a storyline to tell, you see. And about this storyline is like we actually make use of the design, to connect with the surrounding, you see. And what is happening surrounding is actually a terrain forest itself. So we actually adapt the terrain design, the terrain linings, again, the undulating linings, around the entire interior. We actually pick up, what is happening at one of the glass view, that where we'll be able to see that forest, which is actually on the hilltops. We actually connect that lines into our interiors, so that, again, they can be part, of where they are, at the end of the day, in the landscape
similar
itself.
idea to incorporating the mountain.
It's kind of similar to Kris, but the point is that we just want to bring back, all these users or the community, the future community, to understand what is actually sustainability is, and of course to reconnect them back, to the land, you see. And with that result, of course, we will be able to see a bigger pictures, of the entire design.
All right, Alan, thank you very much indeed. Palach, let's talk about your particular clients, because I think this is really interesting for people. So you're working in the ultra-luxury sector. How important is sustainability? How important is our natural materials to your clients?
I would say that this market, this segment, the clients are very sensitive to something that is origin, craftsmanship, and also the timelessness. And they're not just buying a house, but they are building their own legacy as well. So the natural material evoke the sense of touch, age, and imperfection through times. So most of them would crave for something that is raw, real, and rare, especially rare. But as a designer, we have responsibility to balance the aesthetic and also sustainability. And that's why I think we'll go for it with a natural material if it enriches the experience. But then when it comes to the performance, like some area that need high performance, I would encourage them to use an innovation alternatives.
Okay, thank you so much. Cipta, I know that you're keen to encourage, and I think this is a really key phrase and something that we can all take away. You're keen to encourage clients to have an investment mindset. When it comes to sustainability, which I think is the same as Palach was saying about, building something which is definitely not just for now, it's for the future. So tell us more about this investment mindset you like clients to have.
Well, actually, at the first place, we always, many of us complaining like, oh, our client, very strict about the budget, right? Yeah. Very strict about the budget. That's all designers' problem. But, well, eventually, we have to undermine that our clients in commercial sector always have tendency to want to have their money back. That is their mindset. So what we try to do is try to understand that point of view at the first place. So when we encourage them to do something that is sustainable and do something innovative, we have to encourage them, like, okay, you do this, this will make your business easier. And in the long run, it helps your business to sustain. Not just, it's not talking about ego. It helps you to win. Because if you sustain in the market, of course, less renovation, less projects that, splurge money but do the mess. I think that if we put our point of view towards our client point of view, we can push to do something different, something innovative and also sustainable.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed. Look, we'll talk about air in a little bit. I want to move on to water first, because Antoine, of course, what did you call yourself earlier? The water man of water? I'm not sure, but you're all about water.
Born in water.
No. So, and I think we got some of this sense from your presentation, so thank you for that. But talk about how you design with water as an emotional and sensory experience and not just something to use.
So I think there are two dimensions to that when it comes to designing with water. There is, of course, and I talked about multi-sensory moments and how we can create products that empower people to tailor their water interactions or water experiences. So here we talk about some of the system that I shared during the presentation. So it's all about giving that flexibility so people can really curate the products in the way that they can enjoy certain experiences based on their needs, but also about the space, right, they have, right? A small space means you don't necessarily have the space to create the most advanced experience, but yet you can still indulge in some experiences. So there is that dimension at the product level, we can, or let's say at the experience level, where we can really empower people to create those experiences that they want. And then there is also the product aspect, and I shared that during the keynote as well, that if we think about water and the spaces where we interact with water, so it can be the kitchen, but more importantly, the bathroom. The bathroom, the place itself, plays a very different role in our homes now. So it's not just about the water, but it's the surrounding, what surrounds the use of water. And that's why, and I think my co-panelist here talked a lot about designing living spaces. We also have a role as, let's say, as manufacturers of products, to really understand actually what they need to design the spaces. And that's why we start to have those products with modular product architecture to empower them, to empower the designer, the architect, the discerning consumers to actually shape their living environment to reflect their taste and lifestyles. So it's really about, at the end of the day, I like to say that it's about empowerment to the end user to tailor their experiences, and it's about also empowering the people who are actually designing spaces to basically create those spaces based on the intent that they have.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that's water on a practical level. Let's talk more of a design-led concept of water, because there are ways, aren't there, Alan, that you can incorporate fluid lines or suggestions of water into a space, as well as literal water. So can you talk about the impact of water in an overall design for me?
Yes, of course. When we're actually talking about water, I always think about paradise. Yeah, I think everyone like that, you see. So when I think about paradise, you see, I would need to focus something a little bit more to seaside, I would say, you see. So we tend to design with waters, you know. When we go into seaside, we see how movement of water is going to be, you see. So the minute a wave is actually undulating, or I would say, you know, if waves is actually hitting the shores, you know, that's where bubble is actually created, you see. So that's where we are always inspired, you know, to pick up the water movements as part of our design elements. And we make use of that, you know, to be the shapes and forms, you know, of our design usually. So of course with that, you know, when it comes to the sense of calmness, you see. So that's where we actually start planning in the colors of what is happening to the sea, or I would say when it comes to paradise, that's where we gonna balance up, the colors, from the environment of the paradise in order for us to actually create the balance, together with that dynamism that is actually happening from the seaside.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we're actually looking at,
All right, so
usually in
that's
our
Millimetre
design.
Design's
Yeah.
concept of
Yes.
water. Let's speak, Sombat, about you. Didn't you manage to convince? No, wait for this. Didn't you manage to convince a client in an office to have a river on the ceiling? Not a literal river, because the computers would get wet. But how in somebody's workplace budget, how do you persuade your client that it's very important they have the outline of a river on the ceiling?
So take a step back. So the client is Google. Okay. So they want the space to inspire the user. So they want people to come here and feel inspired. So that's kind of starting point. So what we propose is you see the river. I mean, Japia River every day. It's there. What about if you flip it upside down, making the river on the ceiling? So we propose that, and to make it like a real river. So we study the Bangkok like city models, like building blocks, and then just putting that little blocks into the ceiling and just create the upside down river and city. And it's kind of the nightmare with the contractor, because all the sprinkler MEPs has to be coordinated with those little blocks. But I mean, the result is every time the people walk into this space, they feel like they have a lot of questions, and that questions lead to inspirations. And I think we, achieve the goal of to make people inspired by convince the client to have that river on the ceiling, which is, is won the internal Google Award in that year also for that project.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Palach, let's talk about some of your clients then, and we'll go back to the point we made with Antoine about water being an emotional and a sensory experience within your designs. Have you been able to use these concepts?
Yeah, I think because water is one of the most poetic elements, and essential, is calming, and sometimes in our project we use water, the actual water, to create the sound and the movement. But most of the time we try to have it outside because of the low maintenance, right? But like in one of my villas, we did put the water right in front of the master suites. So just to get the feeling that every morning it will start with the lights dancing on the water and reflecting back on the ceiling, and it become like a live performance in every morning in the villa. And for some projects, we using one of the project in the waterfront waterfront lobby in Vietnam. We create glittering, the golden shimmering feature inside the lobby, and we did it like a water cascading down to the lounge, and each piece of that feature is movable. So when the wind blows, it giving like a glittering movement all the time when you enter the space. Mm-hmm. So these are some of the moments that we create and make the water become the experiences.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing. Kris, what about you? What materials and colors have you used to simulate the appearance and feeling of water?
Yeah, I really liked to use water in my project, in my design. And I always want to find a different way to show how the water looks. So I will share one of my projects. It's called Light Waterfall. It's located in the Wuhan city, China. But in the project, I designed the architecture, landscape, and the interior in the same time. It's also. But this time, I want to use the water as the concept, integrated the water element into the architecture, landscape, and the interior. So in the first, inside, I want to design a waterfall. But I think, how about the waterfall without the water? No real water. So I designed the water made in the linear LED light. The light, it moves like water falling. But many linear LED light come back together. It becomes a wall, becomes a waterfall. So the waterfall, in fact, is made of the light. So I call and name it the light waterfall. But in the architecture, I designed big windows in front of the waterfall. So the people, they can see the waterfall from outside. And in the landscape, I made a calmness and stainless and calm the pool, and with no edge. It looks like the mirror. It reflects the architecture and the waterfall. So the original height of the waterfall is about 7 meters high. With the reflex, it looks like 14 meters higher. Almost like 5 floors higher. So it looks huge and amazing. So finally, the architecture and the landscape and the interior are all complete with the theme of the water.
Well, thank you very much, Kris. It sounds amazing. So thank you for describing it to us. Let's talk briefly about air, because I just want to get the other elements in before we close. Cipta, in terms of air, what do we need to be thinking about, do you feel, in this region? Are there specific elements?
Well, actually, if we are talking about air, actually, well, since we are Asian, we have tendency to be philosophical and also, well, saving budget. That's our specialty. Well, if talking about air, actually we cannot separate these 4 elements. Actually, they are connected to each other. So for air, for me, personally, it's the final result of incorporating those elements in your designs. So for example, for me, myself, fire is the activity of the place itself. And the water is the fluidity of the space, and earth is the material that you use to create the space, and the air is ambience that turns into the result. So, well, if your design is good and the flow of the air is bad, and it could jeopardize your design, because if no matter how good your design is, if the smell is not good, the air is not good, well, it's also a bad design. And we have to take notes about the humidity of Asian country, and you should be aware that in Bangkok, for example, it's very humid, and people easily get sweat. So you have to be very careful about making outdoors, and also be very careful about designing the temperature of your room.
Yeah.
Because if you are not aware about it, there will be condensations everywhere. So
yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. Thank you, Cipta. Alan, I know that you're quite focused, aren't you, on the similar ideas of indoor air quality and the various qualities of that air, yeah?
Yes, but from my point of view, I think I have a different perspective, towards this, especially when you're getting outdoor in. And again, I think it's sticking back to the point that we are in Asia country, it's humid. The way we design all these things is that, and the important part is always the spatial planning, you see. The minute we work on the spatial planning, we need to make sure that we always have got a foyer, or we always have got our inviteful compartments, that we actually start dividing it, before we get into the main place, you see. So the minute we have this compartmentalized area, we probably going to put in plants, or we probably going to put in air ventilations, so that we'll be able to actually start refreshing, that particular space, you see. So that before they get in, it's like, they freshen up. And in our words, so just like, one of our projects, you see, again, we have this foyer thingy, and we also have the other solutions, when it comes to a better solutions when it comes to the ventilation in the interior. is that we start stacking up planter boxes. And the minute we start stacking up, all these planter boxes, we put in plants. All right, which is actually nearer to the interior, where it is actually shaded, those are interior plants. But whatever thing that is actually nearer to the external, those are trees and those are the external plants that that it will be able to grow, you see. So with that, in fact, I have a dual benefits, towards that. At the minute is like, because we start stacking up, at the level of a human height, you see. With that, then it became a feature, you see, a feature or a background, for everyone to have it, you see. And of course, it's going to be really beautiful, with the mixtures of plants that we actually put in. But when it comes to the point as well, it's like the minute when we have these features, we actually freshen up the entire spaces in the interior. And the pollutions, we start reducing pollutions in the interior. And yeah, that's how we actually design the space to get the solutions, for the interior when it comes to air. Yeah.
All right, Alan, thank you so much. Palach, is it true that you have created a beautiful project which is generating its own microclimate?
Yeah, but microclimate is not a solo work. It requires a deep collaboration between architect, interior, and especially landscape designers to integrate a lush greenery and green belt, and also water feature, and also the natural ventilation. In order to create those, and it also depends on the size of the lush greenery and how lush it is that we would like to achieve. But it's a proven concept already on the project that it helps reducing few degrees from the outside. And there's one of our project in Phuket that we did all of this with collaboration with all of the designers, and also for the interior we did create the design that breathes with its surrounding, and we also try to reflect that back into the interior by using some of the natural finishes and also texture. And we have then openable walls that can allow the breeze to flow throughout the house, throughout the villas, and that's a really a harmony of living together with the nature, and it really works.
Fantastic, thank you so much. So finally, Sombat, we've talked about quite a lot of examples, and from your perspective, from the examples we've discussed so far, I know that, and Palach has touched on that, and funnily enough, we talked about it this morning, the idea of just opening the windows, opening the doors, bringing people inside, outside. And some of these, and we talked about this morning as well, some of these ancient philosophies that still come into play. What would you like to highlight about that?
Surprisingly, I think most of my project I have to work with Feng Shui master.
There's lots of nodding and smiling, so you're not alone in this.
So
yes.
it's like, so I'm just curious about that knowledge. So recently I decided to study Chinese metaphysics myself, and it come to the point that I realized that actually those elements are the energies actually. So we all have our own energy. You are the water, actually I'm the metal, and then each of us has our own elements. And then the way the Feng Shui master tell us what to do that is just to synchronize our energy into the environment. So just to, when we understand that, when we design, I think it's just give another depth of dimension of the design, not just aesthetic, but you understand actually how the energy works with, the human living. I think it's kind of like something that you should explore. Not against it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much, all of our panelists. Do we have any questions from the floor? We've probably got time for one question. I can't actually see it.
I would like to know if we've got a question from the 2024 World's Best Interior Designer.
Do we have the 2024 World's
Best
Interior Design winner in the audience somewhere?
Mr. Alexander, have you got anything to ask or say on that?
Does he have a question? or something to say? Something
And
to add?
maybe while we're in the room, congratulations.
Yeah, well
for
done.
2024.
Alexander Wong, Architects, 2024 World's Best Interior Design. No
Okay,
less.
this is totally
Off the cuff.
Off the cuff because nobody told me. So it's not planned. It's not, reality TV, which is pre-planned, of course. So I thought it was really interesting, fascinating, because Nikki Hunt there, she's
Nikki
writing a
Hunt
book.
from
Yeah,
Nikki
she's
Hunt
writing a book
Design?
right now about biophilic design and also just basically bio-interior design, about the future of how, it's a science. It's not just aesthetics, not just visual, but to do with smells, to do with chemicals, to do with all the elements that you guys so eloquently described. So first of all, it was really interesting. And we were actually chatting all the time. Like, I would love to see the visuals at the back if whoever organized the backdrop could actually provide some of the visuals, because I'm sure your designs are really fascinating, but we couldn't actually quite visualize everything because it could look not so great. But we need the visuals. So hopefully, when we have time, we'll look up your website and find those photographs of the design that you've mentioned. And so I thought it was really great. I don't have a question.
Is there a question in there?
No, there isn't. It's just a kind of wrap-up. I'm doing the wrap-up. I was asked to do the wrap-up. So kudos to everyone, and just great for Etholle for doing the...
Thank you, Alexander. Well done. Thank you so much.
ceremony. So yes, let's go. Let's get the awards.
I think we used to call that a vote of thanks. So the vote of thanks delivered by Alexander Wong. Another vote of thanks, Cipta, Kris, Alan, Sombat, Palach, and Antoine. Thank you so much for being incredible panelists. We really appreciate your time. Ladies and gentlemen, our panelists, thank you.